Hello. Welcome back to The Woods. I am your host, Danielle, Dez Marivette, Hernandez. Why do I have so many names? Because I'm a great wizard. May I lean on you? So, you've joined me for round 2 of a Cinderella Circle. Well done, excellent choice. We're gonna have so much fun. Today we're talking about a personal favorite, Ever After. And we're gonna explore the woods while we do it. This was just a moment in the woods. Shall I kiss you? That's Ever After. No, that's Into the Woods. We're not talking about that one today. We'll talk about that one next time. Ah, I found the Sophie tree. That's another one. That's an offer from a gentleman, which we will also be talking about. That's part of Bridgerton. Ah, yes, which is renewed for seasons 3 and 4, as we all knew it would be. Wow, I am astonished at all the new growth underneath my feet because it's not grass like I expected, it's little leaves. Hello again. Haha, whoa, whoa, this is a bit wobbly. Ever After! So in this Cinderella tale, our protagonist has a name, and it's Danielle. Now, I'm not biased or anything. I'm totally biased. But it's really refreshing to see that our Cinderella has a name beyond Little Ash Girl, which Marguerite, one of her stepsisters, does call her. So we have all of the elements. So Ever After takes Cinderella and it just grounds it in reality. It's like, what if this wasn't a fairy tale? What if this was real life that really happened and you just don't believe in it because you don't believe in possible things? Impossible. Another version we'll talk about another time. So in this version, Ever After, Danielle is our protagonist, and she, much like all the other Cinderellas, is grieving from the loss of a parent. In this case, it's her father, who we do briefly see, and we briefly see that he's awesome. They have a great relationship. Oh no, tragedy strikes, he dead. Now we move the plot along. He's brought in Rodmilla de Ghent. Oh, the fabulous Anjelica Huston. Love her. And love her version of the stepmother because she lends a gravitas that we don't usually see. The stepmother never gets explored. She's very one syllable. Now, Rodmilla de Ghent has 2 daughters, Les Gasp, and they are brought into the home. This is where it gets different. Now we have one stepsister who is kinder, will develop a bond to our Danielle. So our other stepsister is more of the typical, I'm going to treat you terribly, I'm going to say terrible things to you, and I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that your existence is just miserable. Where did she learn that from? She really takes after Rodmilla. She is born and bred in Rodmilla's image. Rodmilla knows the only way to move forward in life is for her daughter to marry well, and there ain't no one better to marry than the prince. But we also know that in this version, the stepmother has racked up a ton of debt, and that's probably because she's been running this estate by herself for a decade, which is a weird little loophole, but whatever. We know that she's been racking up some debts, okay? Now we meet the prince, Henry. He has his own storyline. Fantastic. And his is really the coming of age tale because at the start, he's a petulant prince. He's running away because it's too much responsibility. And I mean, it's a lot of responsibility. Running a country, nothing to sneeze at. But he needs a story arc. So in the beginning, he's running away. He has nothing to do with any of this. And that's when fate intervenes. As he's running away, who does he meet but our beloved Danielle when he steals a horse from her? Now remember, I said Cinderella always has a connection to nature, and she meets him by flinging some apples and hitting him. Oh man, she had just like that bullseye. So Danielle as Cinderella is a completely different Cinderella. Completely. This Cinderella has mega agency, okay? This Cinderella is bold, courageous, and willing to fight for what she wants and believes. We see this again and again and again. We see it when she tries to stop the prince from stealing the horse, and had it been anyone else, she would have gotten him. She clocked him right in the face. But when she sees it's the prince, she lets him go. She knows that she must die Like, she is willing to give up her life because sovereignty, which is power. We don't have to take that part into the world with us. It was a different time, and aren't we glad for that? Honestly, people, the message is treat each other kindly. Ah, yes, we were discussing Radmilla de Ghent. She is my favorite version of the Wicked Stepmother. And I mean, there are some contenders. We'll get around to the Slipper and the Rose, but here we are. Anjelica Huston, totally crushing it. So, in this version, I almost feel sorry for her because this version is really human. It gives us a glimpse into what her backstory is. In one moment, there's one scene where Danielle is brushing Radmilla's hair. Radmilla shares a story about her mother and how her mother would always make her wash her face over and over, convinced it was never clean enough. This small line brings in a snippet of what her childhood must have been like, of constantly scrubbing, of that shame that gets ingrained in us, of feeling that something is not clean about us. Now remember, Radmilla is only playing the cards that every other woman in her position is playing. And that is, maintain your power, ensure your legacy, make the best match for your daughter. Like the panda bear, Radmilla de Ghent must choose a child to nurture and a child to discard. She already has two of her own. She already made that choice. She has nurtured Marguerite to be the one. She has discarded Jacqueline. Danielle never stood a chance. But there's also this line. After their little bonding moment, Radmilla compares her to her father. You look so like your father, she says. And this makes Danielle feel so sentimental because she loved her father. She loved him. And she asks Radmilla, did you love my father? And her answer is, I barely knew him. That was the reality, people. In an age where relationships are something we hyper focus on, and I mean, that's pretty cool. I would love to get my relationships right, well, done. Wait, not done. But relationships back in the day, arranged marriages, people you've only met once or twice, that was the reality. Thinking of the proximity and intimacy of marriage with strangers. I mean, I can understand how we've evolved to get here, where we are today, where we are constantly like, treat people better, do better than your ancestors. It's time. We really want to ace relationships because relationships are life. Our life, people. All right, let's go back to the prince. He abandons being a prince. He steals the horse from Danielle. She whaps him with apples. Can't say whap these days without laughing. But I think we need to confront this. He steals a horse from a commoner. That's like stealing from a homeless person. And then when he is stopped successfully, he uses his authority to get away with it anyway. However, Danielle, being the amazing 90s protagonist that she is, and that's all the reason more why we love this version, on the same day that Danielle stops the prince from stealing her horse and then lets him steal her horse because he's the prince, she buckles up all of her tenacity, her courage. She's breaking all of the traditional gender roles, and she's the only one. That's something to remember. She goes to court dressed as a courtier, which she is not. She's not nobility. Her father was. But remember, she's been downgraded to servant. That's the only thing that they kept that was true. On the same day that she meets the prince, she goes to rescue her friend, co-worker, and, you know, a companion who helped raise her by pretending to be nobility. And she meets the prince again. She recognizes him. He, of course, does not recognize her because this morning she was covered in soot and ashes. And this afternoon she's had a bath and is in a gorgeous gown. And remember, clothing denotes status. She is in the gown of a well-dressed, well-to-do woman. They have an exchange about utopia. The prince is interested. She's gone because she's like, crap. I can't be revealed. Now, this is something you'll actually see a lot in Cinderella's. She does run away from the prince. That's why the shoe gets left behind. In the original tale, it's a 3-day festival, and she runs away every single time. It's the chase, right? the chase. That'll mess you up for a long time. On the same day that she saves a man's life, she reunites with the prince. She met him twice in the same day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and she was in different stages. Fate, baby, fate. That same day, the prince rescued Leonardo da Vinci and his art, the Mona Lisa, which is a whole other thing. Okay, I love when they unroll the canvas, like that's how they did it, sure. Movie magic. So Leonardo da Vinci is our fairy godmother, which we love, and also her friend, Gustav. Together, they are the agents of change. So there's no spirit of the mother, there is no fairy godmother. Remember, this is a virgin. This is a version. Sans magic. All practicality. Now, unlike other Cinderella versions, we do have an antagonist beyond the stepmother, and that is Monsieur Le Pew. And he's woven in and out of the narrative to just let you know that he has nefarious plans for Danielle. And when Rodmilla runs out of funds and finds out that Danielle has become competition for Marguerite, her meal ticket, well, she gets locked up. And then we have the ball scene. The ball, in which Leonardo da Vinci must first be notified. So Gustav plucks up all his courage. He goes to the ball. He finds Da Vinci. He brings him back. Da Vinci opens the door, which is both literal and metaphorical, and of course, symbolic, because tell me, what isn't? And he helps Danielle go to the ball. She arrives as an angel with literal wings. So we've established the prince, the fairy godmother, the wicked stepmother, the deviation with the stepsisters. One becomes her friend, one is obviously her foe, and Cinderella / Danielle herself, who is constantly rescuing herself and others all throughout this entire production. After she is betrayed and sold to Monsieur Le Pew, she once again rescues herself, but divine timing plays a hand again. We have the shoe. It was her mother's shoe, which is closer to the spirit of the mother in the tree in the original tale than some. Oh, yeah, she punches her stepsister in this one. There's just so many reasons why this version is awesome. It's awesome. She rescues the prince from gypsies, makes friends with the gypsies, gets the gypsies invited to the ball. The prince is now building a library for the gypsies. I mean, clearly she was meant to be in politics because she is a natural politician, just developing relationships all around her. Amazing. The prince grows up. He has this whole arc. First he's running away, then he gets the opportunity to be a man. Then he realizes through Danielle that he can be both a man and a prince at the same time, because with great power comes great responsibility. Bum, bum, bum. There's no pumpkin in this version. We don't need it. She had a ride. What else? What else? What else? And then the final part, the best part, the part that just really seals the deal with their relationship. Divine timing comes. She rescues herself again. The prince realizes the error of his ways. Goes to rescue her after a really weird runaway groom scene. It's not weird, it's just the casting choices were odd. Okay. The prince dips. He does not do the political marriage. He goes to rescue Danielle. Danielle has already rescued herself, and he says the words. He says the words, and they're not the words you think. That's why I love this so much. He gives her the one thing that Rodmilla would never give her, okay? Recognition. She says, say it again. And miserably, he goes, I'm sorry. And she shakes it off. She doesn't even care about the I'm sorry. She's like, no, the part where you said my name. And he brightens, and he says it, Danielle. Ah, and she melts, and he's like, Danielle, and they, oh my God, I love it. He says her name, the part where you said my name. He accepts her. He says her name, but what she's hearing is, I love you. I love you. Not who you pretended to be. I love who you are. I want who you are, and I want to live my life with you. In the few days we've known each other, you have already made me a better person, which, by the way, is not her responsibility, but it's a perk, right? Personally, I'm over punishment arcs, but I mean, it's pretty well done in this film, where Rothmilla is invited to see the queen. Oops, she's been caught in a treasonous lie, where she, in fact, sort of helped pay to steal some jewelry for Marguerite to get on in. Convoluted. And Marguerite and the stepmother now become servants in the castle, and all is well, and it ends with her great-great-great-great-granddaughter telling the tale to the Brothers Grimm, because in this version she's read the Brothers Grimm and she's quite disturbed by the lack of truth to it. Because the point is, gentlefolk, that they lived. And so I remind you, my friends, we must live, especially after this year of fear, more fear than I think we have lived through in a long time. We must go out there and we must live. And honestly, I'm reminding myself as much as I'm reminding you. Because only by going out there, leaving our comfort zone, throwing the apples, only by going after what we want do we live. Oh, thank you for joining me today in the Cinderella Circle. That was Ever After. It's a fantastic version with all of the elements that you need. Midnight wasn't so much played upon, but you know, there was the public humiliation in which she discovers she's not who she is, so you know, it counts. Join us next time when we'll look into the woods. Into the woods, and here we go, the time to sing. Hey, that's not the line. Bumblebee! I gotta go.